Um, it is 7:25 and Georgetown still sucks. The sports brings the whole community together. Everybody in this city just lives and breathes Syracuse basketball and Syracuse football. On game day, the whole city comes together. If you're not at the Dome, you're watching on your television. All your neighbors around you are watching on their television. The camaraderie that this city has, especially around their sports, is just very different, or I guess something I've never seen. I like seeing that a lot in Syracuse. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, it's time to stand up and make some noise. Be loud, be proud, be orange. I've lived in this city my whole life. I've gone to this college, so I've been in the student section the 4 years, doing my time, if you will, in the student section. But I also have this coming down throughout my family. It's come from my grandpa to my dad, so it's generational that we've just had the Syracuse in our blood.
I thought I was a strong fan of stuff until I met him. He's the kind of kid that can make you feel bad for liking your own teams because he knows more about them.
I mean, I've started going since I was 3. I don't remember the last time I missed going or watching a Syracuse basketball game. It's first priority for me. If it's on, I'm definitely watching it, no matter what, dropping everything and watching it.
Absolutely not. No, I don't think there's anybody who really compares, even close. Anybody even close to Tommy.
Because I'm from Syracuse, because I've had this in my blood for now 3 generations, it really sets me apart from other Syracuse fans.
And you could look at the kid that's in the front row that wears the full orange jumpsuit and looks like an idiot, and I'd put Tommy over him every single day. Tom legit bleeds orange. I could take a Swiss Army knife to his wrist and it would ooze orange, I swear.
I guess if you might have to postpone a little homework till after the game. My family knows they're not going to plan anything big during a Syracuse game because they're all the same way. They all want to be watching that game.
I've never met somebody who should be on Can You Stump the Schwab on ESPN News more than Tommy Hogan. The kid is a walking encyclopedia of sports knowledge. And it's not even just his teams. We could be talking Brazilian women's volleyball, and he'll tell me who the standings are.
He can recite the rosters back until 1995 or 2000 or who knows when. He just knows random facts that you wouldn't even know about your own mother. You know, he just has this kind of knowledge about Syracuse basketball that no one else really understands or can even understand why it's even important to know in the first place.
When we played Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium in Durham, the game was winding down. We were up by, I think, a possession, and there was an inbound play, and I think it was Cooney kind of disrupted or Benajay, and the ball just kind of went up, and there was that moment of, it's over. And as I sat there and was like, moved to tears, Tom is hopping like a hare in front of our door.
I'm an agile man for my size. 6'2", 240, big fella got down there, no big deal.
When Syracuse starts doing well, you won't see a big man jump quite like Tommy Hogan can. He'll literally be jumping up and down, screaming, getting as wild as he can.
I swear he had a higher vertical leap than half the linemen in the combine.
All right, so it was actually the second time. I did it 2 times. The first time was actually during an exhibition game, and the composer didn't tell me to go. So I was actually the first signed, but didn't go till the 3rd person was announced. Because the composer, I was looking at the composer, they're all saying to look at the composer. So I screwed that up, that I didn't go to the 3rd player in the starting lineup went. So that was a screw up for sure. But I was able to do it against Duke. Huge game, obviously, freshman year. Had the S on the back of my head. I was all ready to go. It was very fun to be able to do that. I had my tongue sticking out, just as happy as I could be, jumping up and down, because they usually just leave that to band members. And the composer got to know me that I was just copying him, so he would like smile every game. And one game, I just decided to raise my hand when he asked who wants to do signs, and he actually called on me. So it was pretty cool that he did that.
I mean, that's definitely an aggressive move. Definitely proves how into it he is and how I think passionate he is about it. But also, obviously, I mean, that's there for a while. It's not like it's there just for a day. He's got to walk around campus with a big S carved into his head. But I mean, it separates him from everybody else.
So would you let me punch you in the face to spend a day with Carmelo Anthony?
Yes.
Couch potato, sports fanatic, weirdo. But I honestly, those are the first three things that popped to my head, but I love the kid for it.
Your kid was going to be born during a Syracuse game. How would you handle that?
I would tell him to hold on, or have it on in the background. It's going to be on the TV while it's going down, or he's going to have to wait a little bit. I try to bring the whammy out once in a while. If there's a big free throw that the other team needs to miss for Syracuse to stay in the game, I bring out the whammy. You put your pointer and your pinky out, and you just wiggle it right at the player on the TV or whatever, and you just whammy them. It gets them. I'm telling you, it works. I had to use it during the Super Bowl because I absolutely hate the Patriots, so I used it on them a little bit. It clearly worked.
He makes you sit in the same seat you won in. If it's an away game and you're watching it at home, he'll tell you like where to sit. You know, he'll be like, "Oh, we played Duke earlier this year. You were sitting in that chair. I was sitting in this chair."
We had to watch every single game from the same exact couch cushion in the same position throughout the whole season. You know, going into the Final Four and whatever, because it had worked.
Say you have one of the best seats in the house, and he sat there last time. He makes you literally get up, or he won't even watch the game with anybody. He'll just leave the room entirely.
You know, games are tense. It's like you're watching the Final Four, and we could be playing St. Bonaventure. That's how it is with Tommy every single game.
He's nervous the whole time. I mean, he's excited, but when he gets in there, he's definitely anxious, and, you know, he has that iconic no right when somebody does something bad or turns the ball over.
Another jumper. Wow, that was brutal. They lost in the round of 32, the second round of the tournament, to Dayton. I remember that was the last time I came very close to actually crying during a Syracuse basketball loss. It was the best start Jim Boeheim has ever had for a team. I thought they were going to have a chance at winning a national championship and end up losing to a 7 or 10 seed Dayton team in the second round. Really crushed me. It was unexpected. That was the last like huge loss for Syracuse where I was just like completely devastated.
I mean, my day is made when we win, my day is lost when we lose, but Tommy's month is ruined if we lose.
Wait it out.
Yeah, I mean, only time can cure that. And there was a game against St. John's. They were awful. I think it was Chris Mullin's first year. It was at St. John's our sophomore year. They ended up going to the Final Four SU, but they lost by 15 or 20 points at St. John's, and it was just brutal. It was just a brutal game where I had to just blow some steam. Got a little drunk. Yeah.
Elaborate.
That's about.
What happened?
Are we going into that?
I don't know if you want to include this. We had a really terrible loss to St. John's when we played them at Madison Square Garden, and Tommy took a full face of Jim Beam apple to the face, and he says that's the only other Jimmy B he needs in his life, if that gives you some kind of context.
I owe family, friends, Jim Boeheim probably. And he might actually be in front of my friends now that I'd be honest. It probably goes family, Jim Boeheim, friends for me. He means a lot. He means a lot to me. And James Arthur Boeheim, we trust. Every game day, if we're down, I'm relaxed. In Jim Boeheim, we trust. I'm not worried that with any deficit Syracuse, I always believe can make a comeback. Welcome to my room. I've lived in this room since 7th grade. It's all decked out in Syracuse, as you can tell. I had it decked out in Syracuse even at a house before 7th grade. Now I have a smattering of SU memorabilia and trophies that I've won throughout the years.
I remember just walking into his room, just covered in Syracuse apparel, the bed sheets, the posters, everything. Right when I walked in, I was like, wow, like, what's up with this guy? You know, he's definitely a character, interesting personality.
This is my first basketball poster from the 2001 season. I know I've been going to games since I was 3. I think the first memory I have is of Preston Shumpert, not a specific game. I was only 5 in this season as well, so I don't really know much about the season, but Preston Shumpert right here, he's actually my first favorite basketball player I had, and my first player I actually really remember. And I just remember cheering him on as a kid, being on like my dad's lap, or like crouched down in the aisle, just trying to squeeze into the aisle. This is actually like my most prized possession, I guess, my biggest piece I have of Syracuse memorabilia. My mom actually, I had no idea. She just started driving. She said we were going to a cousin's birthday party. And all of a sudden, we went by their house. I was like, where are we going? She was like, I'm not going to, like, she just kind of like blew it off. Mm-hmm. And then I finally actually realized that we were headed to the Dome. I stood outside the Dome and waited for all these guys to come into practice and got every single player on that team's autograph. And they obviously went on to win it all. So this is a huge piece. I've only taken the ball out of the case really like 2 or 3 times. So I really just want to keep it in there. Want to keep as many fingerprints and just don't want to damage it all. Also have a picture of Melo up here, me with him, with the basketball in my hand. I remember just shaking the entire time. It was freezing, and I was just so nervous to meet all these guys. Melo was on the phone, had a bag of Burger King in his hand. I remember him telling the guy he was on the phone with, he had to take a picture real quick to stop talking. And then my grandpa is the one who started this extreme Syracuse fandom in our family, and it just passed on to my dad. Him and my dad would go to games, basketball games at Manley Fieldhouse before the Dome, football games at Archibald Stadium before the Dome. So it just really has carried down from him to my dad, now to me and my cousins, and just all throughout the Hogan family. This bear is actually made out of a shirt from my grandpa. He was a huge part of my life until he passed away. He was probably my best friend, honestly, as a kid. I used to go to games with him and my dad as a child, football and basketball. So this really means a lot to me. This is one of his shirts that he really wore a lot to games, and my mom made a bear out of it when he passed away to remember him. I mean, that Hakeem Warwick's block might be the greatest play in the history of Syracuse basketball, and just the grand scope of how much it meant. Jim Boeheim, I know he still says to this day that he thinks that shot was going in. So, I mean, he obviously has no way to tell that, but that's just him saying how much that meant, because Syracuse was up 3, what seemed to look like an open 3-point shot, and Hakeem Warwick flies out of nowhere with his very, very long arms and block. That was just an incredible scene to see, and something that means so much to the Syracuse program, and what I believe to be the biggest play in Syracuse basketball history. Are being woken up at like 1 a.m.
Gets it. Heinrich puts up the shot. It's too long, and Syracuse is your national champion.
Because Syracuse had won the championship, like my parents let me come downstairs, watch the end of it. So this is a poster of that national championship team in 2003 for Syracuse. You can see Melo, G-Mac, these are the freshmen of that year, Billy Edlin, Matt Gorman. It meant a lot to me that I was able to meet these players, had the best one, and they actually go on to win Syracuse's first championship ever. It was something that means a lot to me. Carmelo Anthony is my favorite athlete ever because of that. Now he just means a ton to the city, what he was able to bring to the city that nobody else has. Not being a student before college to being a student here, no, it didn't change at all. I was still as big of a fan. I was watching every away game on TV with my friends, coming to every game.
Yeah, I think it's never changed, Tommy. I think we just want him to keep doing his thing. You know, he always says it's his wish to die in the Dome.
So my freshman year was the first year I'd become a Syracuse fan, and I liked them. There was nothing past that. But when we beat Duke, and I saw how it meant to one of my best friends, to the point where your whole face could get light up and become completely red when you're pissed and move you to tears when you win, because that's the school you go to and these are your classmates. When I was jumping up and down with him after that game, that's, I think, really when I fostered a true love for this team, because I saw what it meant for people that, grew up in Central New York.
The last game of the year, I guess, as a senior really sticks out to me.
It was me, Tommy, and my same friends that I watch every single game with.
Sad to know that I'm going to be here again for sure, obviously, but it's sad to know that it's going to be your last game in the student section with all of your college friends.
Now, I'll never forget that. 44 seconds it stopped, and everyone knows that 44 seconds means here on campus. And I look at Tom and I said, I had tears in my eyes. I got tears right now thinking about it. I said, Tom, we got 44 left, my brother. And, like, I just looked at him, gave him a hug, and we ended up winning a game we really probably shouldn't have.
So that really was a huge memory to be able to go out with a win, go out with a resume win for Syracuse.
And as the students were clearing out and everyone was clearing out, there's probably went from 30,000 people in the dome to about 100. And Tom says, I want to be the last people sitting in here. And we sat in the bleachers for, I think, almost an hour before we had left. Just tears streaming kind of down our face.
After the game, yeah, I shed a tear. It's sad to know that I mean, I'm going to be here again for sure, obviously, but it's sad to know that it's going to be your last game in the student section with all of your college friends. Just, it was sad.
To be with one of your best friends that you watched every single game with, the one that, like, made you become the fan you did, and to see him walk out for the final time, a kid that's had season tickets since he was born, that was something special to see.
Go Orange.